The core of the meeting is the issues list section. And it's called IDS, which stands for Identify, Discuss, and Solve, otherwise known as the issue list. And that's 60 minutes that you spend solving issues. And what we require is everyone at least needs to bring one issue to the table every meeting.
You're listening to the Vacation Rental Managers Podcast with Sarah and T.
Sarah stands for me, Sarah Bradford, a 15-year vacation rental company owner in Colorado who sold the company for big bucks last year.
And T stands for me, Tim Cafferty, who's still moving and shaking with two companies, Outer Banks Blue and Sandbridge Blue, in North Carolina and Virginia, respectively.
Between us, we have managed over 700 properties, making lasting memories for over 100,000 guests, and produced over 150 podcast episodes and counting, sharing all of our secrets to growing a profitable, long-lasting vacation rental company.
We like to call those secrets pullover moments, and it wouldn't be possible without support from our pullover partners, ICND, Key Data, and Sojo. We're back, better than ever. I'm Tim.
And I'm Sarah. And on today's show, Tim, we are going to cover a topic that we've mentioned several times on the podcast, but we have not explained. 3 letters, EOS. The reason we haven't explained it is because I'm not even sure we all understand it. So we have a guest today, which I'll get to in a second. And no, this is not a Taylor Swift musical tour because that was that EOS? No, that was
Eros.
Yeah. Or the movie about her tour, which apparently at the time of this recording, she's already made $200 million just on the movie. And she's going to net $4 billion from the not EOS tour. It's a lofty, aspirational way, though, to run your business, EOS.
Yeah, we have mentioned this in the past, Sarah. And while I am bitterly disappointed that Taylor Swift is not going to be on the podcast today, I think everybody's going to have interest in hearing about this from an expert who is on the podcast today. We have Matt Durrette with us today. Matt, also known as Matt Cozy to some of us, which is the greatest marketing idea ever to make your last name your company name, Matt. But Matt has Cozy Vacation Rentals in the Hill Country outside of Austin, Fredericksburg, Texas. But he's now grown to all sorts of other locations around Texas. And he adopted this idea of EOS as he grew his business, along with his wife, Jenna, and their other co-founder, Scott Heyman. So, Matt, first of all, great to have you on the podcast, finally.
Yes, finally. Happy to be here. Thank you all for having me today.
I met Matt, Sarah, at a mastermind event in August of 22 in the Hill Country of Tennessee, the Keystone Retreat. I still have my booklet here for those of you.
Still have it too.
More cowbell.
Yep.
But anyway, I've really been interested in his company's growth and success, and he'll get into that some today. But we have you here, Matt, to give us the 411 on your adoption of EOS, how you found out about it, what it's meant to your business.
Yeah, and thank you all for the opportunity to kind of talk about it. And it's always a very difficult subject to talk about with people because it's not a software system. It's not something that you can really see, tangibly. And it's something, though, that's a principle and a set of principles really to how you should operate your business. It really takes a huge investment for someone to really implement it. And it takes time. It's not just a very easy decision. And it took me almost a year. And I watched companies like Ventori and I watched other vacation rental companies implement it. Then I interviewed several other companies who had implemented it as well. And I kind of was like, oh, this is some fad. There's KPIs out there. There's standard operating procedures that you can follow, things like that. And it really is just it truly is a standard operating procedure on how to operate your business. And from the top down, all the way through the very top leadership management, all the way down through to everyone in your company at every single role, everyone is touched. Everyone understands where your company is going, what your mission is, what your 1-year plan, 3-year, 5-year plan. Nothing's hidden. It brings that transparency across your whole company. And at the same time, it allows your company to truly take the steps it needs to. It takes that baby steps, and you measure everything. Every week we measure something. We measure the KPIs of every single department, and we have every department broken out in our company. And then we measure those weekly, and then we stop what we're doing quarterly and revisit that to see if we met all of those goals that we set as a company and across each individual person. And it sets every single person up for transparency and success in your company. And the key thing that it instills, though, is accountability across every role and every department. And it allows me as a business owner and every person in my leadership team, it allows them to know if we actually have the right people on this bus, regardless of vendor, contractor, or employee.
It sounds like business nirvana. We have listeners that manage one home and then all the way up to thousands. Mm-hmm. So to me, this sounds like a big company kind of thing. Talk to us through how big your company is, Cozy, how big you were when you started this, and kind of the state of where you were when you decided to do EOS, and a couple specifics like what has changed because you're doing this.
Right now, as a company, we have 350 homes under management, 35 full-time people supporting us in multifaceted, whether remote or here on site in Fredericksburg, Texas, our headquarters. We started implementing this in January of 2021. So we've been 2.5 years down this implementation path, and it's a 2-year program to fully implement into your business. And I started looking at wanting to implement. This was right after COVID. I've had a very unique journey where I started out actually, so in Baltimore, Maryland, my wife and I started doing real estate and vacation rentals in 2013. And it was just trial and error, painstaking, failure, successes one after another, all the way until 2019 when we chose to move to Texas. And at that point, I said, I really want to build a very local, amazing business, family-oriented business with great people, because at that time we were managing property from 2013 to about 2019 in almost 10 different cities. And we were really focused on actually urban vacation rentals and in urban markets, rental arbitrage, things like that. And then in Fredericksburg, Texas, this is a pure hospitality market. This is drive-to tourism at its finest, near Austin, Texas, near San Antonio, near Dallas. It's a high-end market, and we really had to build out a footprint and a true core business, not just me behind a computer, with 3 monitors in front of me and managing multiple teams in different cities. It really took the complexity out of how crazy property management could be. And I wanted to find a system where I could run and operate a company. And as we know, vacation rentals, it always feels like whack-a-mole. It feels like we're just constantly running around with chicken or head cut off. And I've talked to several owners, and the amount of people that feel like that is immense. And this allows us to have a clear head to understand where our business is, how successful we are, and where we're going. If I could have implemented this back in 2013 with our first 2 or 3 properties, I would have, because it fits those folks who are just starting out, as well as fitting the folks that want to manage 350 homes and have over 35 team members. It really helps. I've found EOS is amazing for very logistical and operations heavy companies.
So Matt, as I understand it, EOS, I'm going to call it.
Yeah.
Because I'm hip that way. It has 6 components, if I remember them correctly: vision, people, data, process, traction, and issues. Is there one that's more important?
The issues. The issues is the sole important key one. And when we run our meetings, we spend the majority of our time on issues. And there's a software that's called My90 that we probably couldn't live without, that runs our whole company in terms of how we run EOS. But inside of the meeting, it's an 1.5-hour meeting that every team member is on once a week in their department. And it's a 1.5-hour meeting that everyone in your company should be in once a week. And that's it.
When you say everybody in the company, you mean the cleaners?
Even the cleaners. Correct. And not everyone in the company is in the same meeting. It's every single individual department that somebody's in is on that EOS meeting. And the goal of that meeting, regardless of someone being cleaning or even in maintenance, is to bring the issues that they experience out in the field that prohibits them from doing an amazing job or serving our stakeholders.
Okay, so I really get excited about that, because we used to bring everybody in one room and had that kind of meeting. But I failed at getting a lot of people to talk. It became like torture. So what is the methodology? How do you make everyone speak up about their problems?
Yeah, and that's why I highlighted about the issue, because that is the core focus of the meeting. So you start the meeting off by doing everyone's personal best of the week. Then you review everyone's data. So the data and the KPIs that you pick per department that you're supposed to measure and that we've chosen to measure as a group and we voted on as a group to do that in that department. You review the data. You then go into the goals section, which is furthermore known as rocks. And is everyone on target to hit their rocks and their goals? And you're only spending 5 minutes on each of these sections. And then you go into headlines. Is it anyone on PTO? Any great things about the team? And then you go into the to-do sections. To-dos are real quick. Have you gotten it done, not gotten it done? That's it from what you said you were going to do last week. The core of the meeting is the issues list section. And it's called IDS, which stands for identify, discuss, and solve, otherwise known as the issue list. And that's 60 minutes that you spend solving issues. And what we require is everyone at least needs to bring one issue to the table every meeting. And it doesn't mean that in that meeting, you're ever going to solve every issue. What I have personally found, and everyone does it differently here, if you have more than 5 people in an EOS meeting, it will never be effective, because the more people you start getting into that meeting, the less effective it becomes. But when you can break things out in that segment, that's how we've done it here in groups of 5 or less, you can actually start to solve real challenges. And rather than issues coming up to our leadership team of the company that I used to solve, everyone used to come right to me, hey, how can I get this done? And helping guide them to that answer, people are starting to solve their own challenges. But right now we have, I think across the company, 12 EOS different meetings of the, not departments, but the groups that we've segmented out in.
So what I'm understanding is of your 30 some people, there's 5 in each group. There's a representative from each department. Is that
Each
how
person?
it works?
Yes, there's a manager of each department that leads and steers that EOS meeting. And then everyone that works underneath of that manager or inside of that department attends that meeting. So if it's cleaning, laundry, and housekeeping, they have their own EOS. If it's maintenance, lawn care, they have their own EOS meeting.
Got it.
And then those managers, right, at lawn care, maintenance, laundry, housekeeping, they report up into the operations. They all have their own individual one.
I found it so easy to find out, to have data that we would report on about bookings or clicks on our marketing campaigns and things like that. But it ended up that when we used to get to maintenance and housekeeping, they were like, we cleaned 12 places this week. We fixed all the junk that broke.
Yep.
How do you create data around maintenance and housekeeping? What's a specific piece of data you track there?
Well, to help with them bringing some not only stuff to the table, but to hold them accountable, we implement incentives. So like number of work orders closed in the last week. We have a goal that we set, hey, we want to see this number of work orders closed in the week. And then we do it by priority as well, high, medium, low. And then we have data of how many work orders that are outstanding versus how many work orders that are being worked versus are being closed, how many the value of those work orders as well, a dollar value and what's been closed versus what's still open. And that really gets kind of the eyeballs going for quite a few people on those. Those are some of the similar data points we use for the maintenance. And for cleanings, we found, total number of homes is obviously a good one, but the review score, people really want to know how and where they've been successful. And so to segment out people's actual individual review scores, we have automation that does that goes in and mines what they've done in the reviews tied to their properties. That is huge for people. And for them to say like, hey, because when you're sitting in a room as a cleaner, right, and you have 10 other cleaners who are getting 4.8 and higher reviews, but you're the one cleaner who's at 4.4, not very long are you going to be working here if you're at 4.4 consistently. But number 2, you're watching all of your peers be successful. So what do you want to be? You want to be successful. It naturally kind of pushes you towards success.
I want to follow up on something, because if anybody's ever listened to this podcast, they know I'm a little slow on the uptake sometimes. And when you are talking about issues, Matt, are we talking about specifics like the hot tub in SS12 isn't working? Or is it more of issues like this app will not take pictures unless I have a connection to the Wi-Fi in this house? Talk to me about the issues you guys tackle.
Yeah, so it's going to be more of the bigger issues that you brought up. It's not going to be one hot tub that randomly breaks, but it's, hey, if we've got 10 hot tubs that consistently break and it's the all same problem, what's the process to handle the operating procedure to tackle those 10 hot tubs? Or, hey, if we have an app as a company that's supposed to be, or a piece of tech stack that's supposed to be helping me do my job, it's prohibiting me. But if it's just prohibiting me, it's prohibiting everybody else. So that would be a core issue that we're going to solve. And then sometimes there might not be issues. I've been in plenty of meetings where, hey, we don't have any issues actually to tackle this week. Well, let's focus on something that we want to develop to make our customers' lives better, our lives better. What's something that we haven't gotten to yet? But it's more of the bigger picture items that are going to affect not just one person, but the entire team.
So let's back up 1 second. EOS stands for not the Taylor Swift tour, but what does it stand for?
So it stands for Entrepreneurial Operating System.
Why is it getting into our vacation rental world so rapidly? And is it like you buy it? And who do you buy it from? And what's this whole thing about implementers?
Gino Wickman wrote a book, I believe it was either 2008 or 2012 is when he wrote that book that brought that framework to life. Then EOS got into what was called EOS Worldwide. I believe that was in 2013, 14. They kind of haven't looked back since. And their mission, and EOS Worldwide is a company. Their mission is to have over 100,000 companies operating. That's their goal and their vision. I believe there's about over 25 to 30,000 right now operating on it. Most of them are very operational heavy companies where they have a lot of people doing things, less computer, tech, et cetera. The people-based businesses I see operating on more and more, and that's where I see it being very successful in. Going to purchase it doesn't make any sense, right? Because you can do what's called self-implementing. I could read all of Gino Wickman books. I could read every EOS book. I could Google all the information I wanted. I could watch hours of YouTube videos, and I could go implement it myself. The problem is we're all of our own worst enemies. So as you know, Scott Heyman, my wife and I, we all run the company together. And Scott Heyman's our CTO, and Scott and I can talk ourselves into the worst ideas. We could think that this idea is grand and great and go down this giant rabbit hole, implement something, it's been a failure. And we've done that thousands of times. And no one's actually holding us accountable. And so EOS Worldwide has what's called implementers, and people work for EOS Worldwide. Most of the time, these implementers are former business owners who have exited 6, 7, you name it, figure exits. They've been through the trenches. They've seen it all. They're very experienced individuals, and their job is to come in and help you implement EOS and bring it into your business. And for about a year, we decided to try to do it ourselves. It was a failure. And so we said, we need to bring in someone else, to help us implement this. So it's essentially bringing in a consultant is what it is.
There's no company called EOS that you buy software from and get a person from there.
Correct. There is a company called EOS Worldwide. That's where you can put your information in and you can be tailored to a consultant to interview them, but you don't have to choose to do that. You essentially get paired with a consultant. And there's a couple of people in our industry too that are doing implementation in the vacation rental space. But, I just heard about it. So I literally went to the website. I put in information of who we were as a company. And then I was contacted by someone from EOS Worldwide, and I was paired with 3 different people, and I ultimately got paired down to someone named Amy Johansson out of Dallas. She's essentially a consultant who comes into businesses, whether small, medium, large, and implements the EOS framework and methodology into companies like mine and into business owners like mine. The biggest challenge of doing that is I'm the business owner and I've liked things done the way I've liked them done because I've done it.
What was the hardest thing that you had to change for EOS that you were like, but that we do it the other way?
The number one thing was we set up a brand new leadership team. We never had a leadership team. Our leadership team was Scott and my wife, Jenna. That was our leadership team. And what we said, go, we thought we would do the best answer. We were at the top, then went and chose 3 and 4 other folks in our company at the time. There were 7 people on our leadership team when we first started out, in all the different departments who were our biggest leaders. And we put them in the leadership team. And the whole point of an EOS meeting is to empower everyone to bring change and to bring the issues to the table. And the issues that were brought to the table, there wasn't necessarily even an issue. There's a lot of company issues, but it was like, Matt is actually in the way. To actually see on paper and hear from people, we had a 2-day offsite to start. It was like, well, I'm actually causing all of the friction unintentionally, but I'm not letting this person be successful because I am their speed bump to success right now. And that was kind of the eye-opening for me, where I really needed to step back and let not only myself, but our staff work, to really work on the business. It was an eye-opening for me where I wasn't allowing that. And I didn't know whether it's, wanted too much control or things like that because it was my baby. I was actually a part of the problem of our company not getting to certain steps that we needed to because I was prohibiting its actual growth.
My wife has a sticky note on the mirror of my bathroom. It says, "You are looking at the problem." So there you have it.
Yep.
But before we talk more about EOS, we need to go to someone who we also favor those initials as one of our podcast partners. So let's take a break.
Hey there, it's Marsha with Sojo. Fueling operational efficiencies for our clients is part of our DNA. And as EOS users ourselves, we find that this is helpful and a great team accountability tool to track our milestones and our team growth. We are solution-oriented and understand that scaling can present many challenges for businesses. Although leveraging data to simplify operations is way easier said than done, we know the importance of standardizing your business aspects. Our advice is to identify KPIs for your team and measure these to optimize your performance. We track some key data points to compare our clients' operations pre and after implementation. Some of these metrics include things like decrease in average inspection time, increase in the number of turns completed before check-in, average hours saved per home a month, and more. Aligning on goals and tracking data are key ingredients for operational success, and we're here to help.
Boy, it sounds remarkably similar to The Great Game of Business and Jack Stack's book that came out 20 years ago now, that some of us have implemented. And quite frankly, I don't get some of the stuff. Tell me what I'm doing wrong or what I'm not understanding.
I don't think it's anyone's actually doing anything wrong. And I think any system, right, that anyone has that they're working on is version 1. You can always get into version 2 and continue to evolve and change. And for me, I've been to undergrad, I've done grad school, I've done all those things, studied operational science, I've done all those different things. But it was really more towards like the corporate America when I was in grad school and things like that. Owning a small business, I can't think of a single course through undergrad or grad school or anything I ever went through that taught you how to run, start, and go through the challenges of your own small business, or how to run it operationally, and to have that mindset. And how I've gotten really good over the years is just by doing. But there has been no easy blueprint that I have found that just once you can implement it or go down that path to just suddenly, kind of go down. That's been EOS for me. There's tons of other operating systems out there. You can Google anything and find 10 ways to run your business and 10 different systems. EOS is just a simple roadmap once you start getting into it that you can take all the blueprints, you can take someone else's expert knowledge and really bring it into your company and put your whole company within and start to run it down a set of core principles and a way to view it. It really is just a blueprint and a roadmap for success. And I don't think it's any different as to anything that you just said that you've been doing for 20 years. I think it's probably very similar.
The way it's working in my head about this is there's some really smart people doing this. Valerie Gangas, I think CJ Stam is a big fan. Steve Trover says this is the best thing anybody can do. But then there's Tim Cafferty and others who for a long time have done a different system. But what it really comes down to for the listener is you are running a very complicated business. And as it grows, it's going to get more complicated. If we just focus on marketing and we just focus on sales and we just kind of hope everyone's going to clean stuff and we hope it works out with maintenance and, whatever, talking to each other cross-departmental, turn a blind eye until you hear it's all right. That will not work. And the similarity of both systems or any system out there is to say, don't just ask your staff once a year what's going well and what isn't. Don't hope they're going to bring those issues to you. Don't assume people are making traction, and don't assume that people understand your vision, and don't assume that people at the bottom understand why the heck you're doing what you're doing and that you want to grow to 300 properties in 3 years. You incorporate them in the budget, the goals, the day-to-day process. You will not have the success you will have if you do it that way. Tim's making more money because of the Great Game of Business. Matt, I assume you're making more money when push comes to shove. And I made a lot more money. I didn't do either system, but I did little pieces and parts of all that. And I very much told the staff where we were going. You can ask Jenna, who I just found out my former staff member works for Matt now. We were talking about that stuff and we were meeting often and we were digging into the dirt. And if you don't do that, I think we're all saying, wake up and start. EOS provides a system to do that. A lot of people are finding success with it. Don't just keep running your business and hoping it's going well.
Gotta have a way to operate.
Preach.
Oh, man, that's great. I just came from the John DeJulius conference in Cleveland last week. Sarah knows all about that. And what really struck me as you were talking, Matt, was the focus on the people and listening to the people and drawing it out of the people. And one of the biggest points I took away from the John DeJulius thing was service aptitude. It's something that the three of us on this call probably have as an innate feature, but Joe in maintenance may not have it, where Sarah in the housekeeping department may not have it. But I'll bet you these meetings that you have on a weekly basis draws that out so everybody's on the same page. All right, Matt, you were just talking about the involvement of the staff and how important that is to your success. And you have a story that is it's amazing to me. Tell me about Honduras and what it means to your business.
It's one of our secret sauces. Our folks down in Honduras, they're an integral part of our team, an amazing group of people and individuals and talent. All of our listing management, all of our onboarding, all of our listing build outs, listing audits, scheduling of things, photos, you name it, anything guest related. Half of our owner relations is done out of there as well.
Your owner relations?
We have half here, and then the back end support. There's the questions the immense amount of questions that any company is going to get, monthly statement questions, questions. We have people who are just liaisons of getting them the exact right answer as fast as they possibly can, with a high end of hospitality, as fast as possible, and everything's tracked. Everyone's all in the same system. All of our accounts payable, accounts receivable, everything's done out of there. And then here we can focus here truly on the core problems operationally on our staff versus having to deal with all the back end tech things, the guests and customers. We can actually focus on the actual users who are using these homes and to have a great experience and to deliver on that. It's just a great group of people.
Do you have that trouble of language barrier? Are they talking to them on the phone? Is the owner trying to communicate with these people? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so not everyone, and I got to say thanks a lot to my brother, love him to death, and I wouldn't be here today without him and his advice to do this. But not everyone has a brother who lives in Central America and has a top 3 hotel and eco lodge there. So not many people have that in. And that's a whole other story. I went to go visit him in Peru. And what am I doing the whole time? I'm on my cell phone the entire time. And I was there for 14 days with my brother and my wife. And I don't even remember hardly spending like quality time with them, because all I was doing that's at 20 properties was scheduling maintenance man. I'm on Airbnb the whole time. I'm on VRBO. I'm sending messages. I'm doing this. I'm scheduling that. I'm scheduling all the cleaners. I'm generating monthly owner statements. And then I didn't have a PMS. So I'm doing everything through a script on Excel, exporting everything on VRBO, exporting everything on Airbnb, putting a script. So it was a nightmare. And that's why I don't have any hair. And it was my brother sitting there and he was like, Matt, I thought you're coming to Peru to hang out with us and hang out with me. And he was like, you've been on your phone this entire trip. And that was kind of that eye-opening experience for me where I said, yeah, something's gotta change. And he said, look, I've got a friend here in Honduras. She just got laid off. She has been working for, some company in the US. So Honduras has tons of international free trade zones. Google's there, AT&T's there, Verizon's there. Half the companies that all of us call, we have no idea they're actually we all think we're going to China. We all think we're going over to Thailand, Vietnam, Asia. The reality is we're actually being routed probably to Central America in the same time zone with a lot of these folks. And a lot of these folks have numerous training backgrounds, grad degrees, master's degrees. And we first started, we hired that one person that he recommended. And she had a grad degree and had been working in customer service for the last 3 years. And she took over all of our customer service, all of our guest experience in that first 6 months. And then it worked so well. And she started doing all these other different tasks. We hired on another person. And we, at that time, were about 40 properties and 2 reps. And that was about 2016. And as we continued to scale, we started hiring on more and more and more. And so now we have a team of 12 folks down in Honduras that do everything from 24/7 guest customer service to all of the AP, AR. It's all been from the foundations of my brother putting that referral, and we haven't looked back since.
So 12 of your 30 some employees are in Honduras.
Correct.
And do they talk on the phone with the guest and the owner?
They do. You can't tell. One of our requirements is you have to have excellent English speaking skills. And Honduras is a bilingual country. When they start school, and preschool going up to kindergarten, it's English and Spanish, majority the whole way through for everyone. Okay. I can guarantee if you called our customer service number, you wouldn't ever be able to tell if they weren't in Fredericksburg. But here in Fredericksburg, Texas, I don't know what kind of money I would have to make to have someone be here and answer the phone after 5 p.m. And when we do on average over 300 reservations every single Thursday through Sunday, it's a year-round market here. I don't know how we would ever make the amount of water heaters that don't work, ACs that go out, how any of that would ever get done without the amazing group of people that we have down there. And we would never be able to find that level of talent here.
So it's finding that level of talent for the price, I assume.
It's a win-win for all of us. So, down in Honduras, minimum wage about $250 a month.
How much?
$250 a month is the minimum wage down there. We far surpass that, and well over the 1,000 range, per month per team member. They also get an uncapped commission on any phone call reservations. When they're not doing guest issues, they're in sales mode. And we use Track so we can track all the KPIs related to all their sales. They get a 2% commission we have some sales reps who do $1,500 to $3,000 a month just in sales over the phone. It's incentivized for them to perform and perform at a high level. But a big part of it is you got to speak great English. Everyone's on a 5-day week schedule. Everyone works, same hours that we work here. They're on 8-hour different shifts. It works very, very well. And down in Honduras, a normal work week, though, is 6 days a week, not 5. And internet's a very universal thing now. You can get internet anywhere in the world, regardless of where you are. They get to move back to their small hometowns and be with their family. So there's no such thing as Social Security in Honduras. In Honduras, you're going to take care of your family as they start to get older. And so they get to actually move back, live at home, take care of their elders, and do all those things that they wouldn't be able to do because they would have to be in the main cities of Tegucigalpa or San Pedro working in a call center or a full-time job.
At least the folks from Mexico had to come to Colorado and then never be able to go back home and just send money back home. So they never saw their kids.
We fly everyone up here as well to see the market, to see the properties, to see what they're talking about. So they've been to the majority of properties. They've been to all of the great things, the wine tours, the state parks. They get to actually experience what the guests experience so they can actually talk about it.
Full disclosure, Tim and I are actually working with a team in Nepal on some social media stuff we're doing, which is really cool. And so far, they're very impressive. But if someone's interested in doing that, how do they find someone reputable in another country? How, besides having a brother?
Absolutely. Because I don't want to see anyone ever go through, we all do this to help each other, to help people not go through the same failures that we've done, even though a lot of people do need to fail to learn. Not only would I talk to anyone about it, but go through the same steps you would as a company. There's a lot of logistic things you do have to figure out. Go through the formal hiring processes, post a job on, what we found in Central America, LinkedIn is one of the best places to post a job. We've found that is the most, successful, just quality pool of candidates. But go through the normal steps that you would take, and then you would hire them as an international contractor for the position. Make sure you have all the right questions, that they fit all the requirements of the job, and that they understand all of that, and take them through those hiring steps that you would use for a contractor, a vendor, even an employee, so you can find the great, that right person and choose from a pool of applicants. But a big thing, though, that people do need to understand is all the unique customs and the differentials of pay and work weeks and, in-country holidays that are super important. They don't administer the same holidays as you do.
Okay, we warned you in advance, Matt. We want to know more about you, although we feel like we got a great picture of your business operation and your benevolence and so on. But we have this little inane game we like to play called Rapid Fire. So, Happy, hit the music. Matt, I looked at your resume. Amongst the positions that you had coming up to this point was Global Business Development Rep for Northrop Grumman. Sounds exciting. A lot of exotic locations, I'm sure. What's the wildest place you ever went to?
Amsterdam.
Oh, that it can be wild. Cozy, COZI. How'd that come about in one sentence?
My wife came up with it after we were thinking about a new company name, and my wife came up with it after everyone would constantly contact us and say, where did we get your sheets or the towels and the mattresses that I slept on? We used to furnish every home. And my wife just, let's do a play on words and do something fun and unique.
Speaking of your wife, Jenna, it says on her bio that she likes to do the Texas two-step. We put some music on. How well would you do on the Texas two-step?
I would be awful, and she would spin me around the room. You should have seen our wedding video. It was insane what she did with her dad. And me was just her.
You were that guy?
I was that guy. I can't dance.
You mentioned earlier on the podcast that you made so many mistakes with your partner in this business. What's one of them that crashed and burned?
We both disagreed on where we wanted to get an office and open up on a footprint. And it probably cost us over 20 to 30 homes of not being able to sign because we realized that we weren't local and people were not willing to not go with a company that was investing in the community and local to the community. A big mistake that we've ultimately got an office and a footprint here in Fredericksburg.
Sounds like you brought up some bad memories there, Sarah. Thank you for that. A skill that you do not currently have that you wish you possessed.
I wish I could code and automate. But that's why I have a great business partner.
Capital of Honduras.
Tegucigalpa.
Do you know the answer, Sarah?
No.
What's that jam you're listening to when you're chilling out?
So down there, and all my staff is going to love this, they're obsessed with Bad Bunny.
Bad Bunny was playing in Cleveland when I was there last week.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
God,
they
I
go
don't-
nuts over Bad Bunny. I don't even know who Bad Bunny is.
I
but
don't either. How much longer are you going to do vacation rental management?
I want to be in the vacational management space for the rest of my career. I'm 34. So I think for the rest, probably the rest of my adult years is my goal. So if not, I hope to be owning Cozy for a very long time, but I want to be in this space until I go underground. So I love it.
You have accomplished a lot in your 34 years. Tim's almost that
Oh.
times two.
I've been in the business that long. How about that? So you got another 37 ahead of you before you catch me, my man. So keep on coming. Oh, man. He's one of our favorites. We love him. Matt Durrette, Cozy. And we also don't give you any prize or win on this game other than the fact we really appreciate you playing along.
We do have a not so hot off the press, but definitely happening today. And not so far off in the future will be the DARM conference and also the Women's Summit in Nashville, Tennessee, the first week of December. Just want to give a shout out to Amy Highnote and her crew. A lot of people, I think, heading to one or both of those events. I'll be there, and Tim will be on some sort of romantic trip. And Matt, will you be there?
I will be at DARM, and then my goal is to send some folks to the Women's Conference. I'm looking forward to that.
Guys can reconnect in Tennessee just as we did not that long ago. Matt Durrette of Cozy Vacation Rentals in Texas. Look him up. Great website, and he's doing a lot of great things. Appreciate you being here, my man. Look forward to seeing you again soon. And Sarah, as always, you did a wonderful job today.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you all so much for having me.
So long, everybody.
You've just listened to Sarah and T, the Professional Vacation Rental Managers podcast, hosted by Tim Cafferty of Outer Banks Blue and Sandbridge Blue, and Sarah Bradford, former owner of 2 vacation rental companies in Colorado, now advising other VR companies to thrive and grow. Today's episode was brought to you by Sojo, our podcast partners who are on a mission to make Turn Day suck less by automating your guest amenities. Never order or kit amenities again. Visit getsojo.com/Sarah and T to claim 30 days of free guest amenities exclusively for Sarah and T listeners. Special thanks also to IC&D for hosting Sarah and T's website. Sarah and T love to hear from their listeners. You can reach out to them on Facebook, LinkedIn, or their website, sarahandT.com. They always love to read a review on your favorite podcast app. Even better, if you like this episode, share it with a friend. Sarah and T will be back with a new episode very soon.